So I understand, deals can take a while or they can be quick. And I also knew that quick deals too, you got to make sure they're not in bankruptcy, and you got to make sure they're not is it a deed of trust against the
Sure. Yep.
or a lien on the property.
Yep.
So if someone is signing something real quick, who was it? It was a guy. He did that one time. He bought a house. Forgot his name.
Let me just say this.
Yeah, forgot his name.
There are no emergencies in real estate. We don't buy something if we haven't checked title on the property.
So
okay?
always check title.
And use an escrow company. If I could say two things, if you can check the title on the property and you can use an escrow company and deposit any funds into an escrow company, that'll cut out 90% of your problems.
Okay.
You want to hear my first tragedy that happened to me because I didn't do those first two things? Can I give you a little lesson?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm working in a frozen food freezer, and
You're working in it?
Yeah, I did that at a high school, right? Big freezer, 30 degrees below zero. I'm working, picking up groceries and putting them on the pallet. That's what my job was.
Wow. And
at the same time, I was studying real estate tapes.
Okay.
So I decided that I would partner up with a truck driver that happened to work for the same company. So we were out there looking for deals, and I was, finding these transactions. I found a guy that was in foreclosure. And from the tapes and things, I had learned they had forms, purchase and sale forms. So I had learned how to fill that purchase and sale form out. And I found a guy that was in foreclosure, and I went and met with him. And he wanted $3,000. I can't remember exactly. I think he was $1,500. No, he was $3,000 behind in payments is what it was. Okay. I said to him, I can save your credit. I will make up these back payments for you, and we'll work out a deal on some of the equity that's in the house.
Okay.
Okay. And he said, yeah, no problem. But here's what I need to do. I need to go into my bank. You have to give me a check so I can go into my banker and make up these payments because they won't accept the payments from anybody else. And I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll give you the $3,000. Okay. Yeah. You guys are all shaking your head. Where were you when I was starting? Okay. But he had already signed the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay.
Okay. Now what he needed to sign was a quitclaim deed after that purchase and sale. The purchase and sale is the roadmap of how the transaction will be closed. The quitclaim deed is the actual document that I can record at the county that transfers the property ownership over to me. Okay. So I go and I say to the truck driver friend, yeah, we got to put $3,000 together. So I scraped up all the money I could on my credit cards. Okay. I had no money. I was working in this frozen food freezer. And we go over there and we give him the $3,000 and he leaves, moves to California, gone, never signs a quitclaim deed to the property, never does any of the other things, just takes my money and they're gone. Moved his family down there. And I'm mad. So I go see an attorney. Someone said, you need to go see this attorney. Okay, great. Now I go into there and I say, here's the purchase and sale. And it describes how he's supposed to sign a quitclaim deed and that we put down on paper that I'd give him $3,000 and he was going to use that money to make up his back payments. And he said, yeah, he obviously took your money and he left. He goes, for $3,700, I'll go get a judgment against this individual for you. And I asked the attorney, I said, well, what good is a judgment? And he said, well, that and 50 cents will buy you a cup of coffee. So I had to spend an additional $3,700 to get a piece of paper that wasn't worth anything.
What?
Yeah, he didn't have any more property. Right?
So he sold it to somebody else?
The property was foreclosed on. It was taken away. I didn't have any more money and I was just devastated. And that was my first transaction ever.
So the property wasn't his when he got your money?
It was his. But he owed so much against it. There were liens against the property. Okay. There was a bank lien against it. There was other liens on the property that had priority. I didn't check that. So had I gotten a title report, I would have seen he owes way more
than $3,000.
Yeah, than $3,000 even in back payments.
Yeah.
Also, if I would have given that $3,000 to an escrow company, I would have never lost it because of the purchase and sale. It would have been refunded
put your money in escrow.
Yeah. Don't ever give it to a seller.
Wow.
It will go to escrow, and escrow will transfer all the documents as the purchase and sale describes. So two of those things. So now let me give a little good news. While I was doing this transaction, I also found another house that I went out and I signed a purchase and sale on. Mm-hmm. And that transaction that I was going to buy, someone walked up that had seen the house before, asked the seller if they wanted to sell, and she said, well, I already sold it to this guy. And so he walked up and he goes, I'll give you $5,000 for your position on the transaction right now, just to sign me your purchase and sale, and I'll close it. I'll give you $5,000. And so
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so do you remember how when we were doing your transaction, you put you're the buyer of it or assigns right behind it? That gives you the ability as the purchaser of the house that you can assign your right to purchase it
to somebody else.
And they just handed me $5,000 for that right, and they went ahead and closed the transaction, and I didn't buy, but I made $5,000 right there.
Oh, you never bought the property?
Never bought it. All I did was, let me give you an example. You're the seller of a property. Okay? Marzella, you and I'll buy it for this amount. I will buy it, and or assigns will buy this property for this amount.
And give it to the and or assigns.
Yep. And you're the seller, and so you agree to it. And then someone knocks on the door and says, I'd like to buy this house.
Mm-hmm. For $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And I go, well, here, you can have my place in line if you'd like for $5,000. So I just put, instead of me buying now, I'm assigning this purchase and sale agreement to Joe or Sally, or whoever was at the door. And they gave me $5,000. So I was like, ooh, I just lost $3,000, but I made $5,000. I feel like I got that much in experience, right?
Yeah.
And I know what not to do now.
What not to do.